Oh, hello there. I'm Bilchan.
I'm Nima.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chapter 2, Section 2 of the picture of Dorian Gray.
Ass.
Ah.
The picture of Dorian Gray. Oscar Wilde. Chapter 2, Section 2. Because to influence a person is to give him one's own soul. He does not think his natural thoughts, or burn with his natural passions. His virtues are not real to him. His sins, if there are such things as sins, are borrowed. He becomes an echo of someone else's music, an actor of a part that has not been written for him. The aim of life is self-development. To realize one's nature perfectly, that is what each of us is here for. People are afraid of themselves. Nowadays, they have forgotten the highest of all duties, the duty that one owes to oneself. Of course, they are charitable. They feed the hungry and clothe the beggar, but their own souls starved and are naked. Courage has gone out of our race. Perhaps we never really had it. The terror of society, which is the basis of morals. The terror of God, which is the secret of religion. If these are the two things that govern us. Just turn your head a little more to the right. Dorian. Like a good boy, said the painter. Deep in his work and conscious only that a look had come into the lad's face that he had never seen there before. And yet, continued Lord Henry, in his low, musical voice, and with that graceful wave of the hand that was always so characteristic of him, and that he had even in his Eton days. I believe that if one man were to live out his life fully and completely, were to give form to every feeling, expression to every thought, reality to every dream, he believed that the world would gain such a fresh impulse of, so that we would forget all the maladies of medievalism, and return to the Hellenic ideal to something finer, richer than the Hellenic ideal. It may be that the bravest man amongst us is afraid of himself. The mutilation of the savage has its tragic survival in the self-denial that maws our lives, punished for our refusals. Every impulse that we strive to strangle broods in the mind and poisons us. The body sins once, and has done with its sin. For action is a mode of purification. Nothing remains then but the recollection of a pleasure, or the luxury of regret. The only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it. Resist it, and your soul grows sick with longing for the things it has forbidden to itself, with desire for what its monstrous laws have made monstrous and unlawful. It has been said that the great events of the world take place in the brain. It is in the brain, and the brain only, that the great sins of the world take place also. You waste it. Yourself, with your red youth and your rose white boyhood, you have had passions that have made you afraid, thoughts that have filled you with terror. Stop, footed Dorian Gray. Stop. You bewilder me. I don't know what to say. There is some answer to you, but I cannot find it. Don't speak. Let me think. Oh. Ada. For nearly 10 minutes he stood there, motionless, with parted lips and eyes strangely bright. He was dimly conscious that entirely fresh influences were at work within him, yet they seemed to him to have come really from himself. The few words that Basil's friend had said to him were spoken by chance, no doubt, and with willful paradox in them had touched some secret chord that had never been touched before, but that he felt was now vibrating and throbbing to curious pulses. Music had stirred him like that. Music had troubled him many times. But music was not articulate. It was not a new world, but rather another chaos that it created in us. Words. Mere words. How terrible they were. How clear. And vivid. And cruel. One could not escape from them. And yet what a subtle magic there was in them. They seemed to be able to give a plastic form to formless things, and to have a music of their own as sweet as that of viola, of lute. Mere words. Was there anything so real as words? Yes. There had been things in his boyhood that he had not understood. He understood them now. Life suddenly became fiery clear to him. It seemed to him that he had been walking in fire. Why had he not known it? With his subtle smile, Lord Hemi watched him. He knew the precise psychological moment when to say nothing. He felt intensely interested. He was amazed at the sudden impression that his words had produced. And remembering a book that he had read when he was 16. A book which had revealed to him much that he had not known before. He wondered whether Dorian Gray was passing through a similar experience. He had merely shot an arrow into there. Had it hit the mark? How fascinating the lad was. Hope painted away with that marvellous bold touch of his, that had the true refinement and perfect delicacy that in art, at any rate, comes only from strength. He was unconscious of the silence. Basil. I am tired of standing, cried Dorian Gray suddenly. I must go out and sit in the garden. My dear fellow, I am so sorry. When I am painting, I can't think of anything else. But you never sat better. You were perfectly still. And I have caught the effect I wanted, the half-parted lips and the bright look in the eyes. I don't know what Harry has been saying to you, but he has certainly made you have the most wonderful expression. I suppose he has been paying you compliments. He has certainly not been paying me compliments. You know you believe it all, said Lord Henry, looking at him with his dreamy, languorous eyes. I will go out to the garden with you. It is horribly hot in the studio. Basil, let us have something nice to drink. Certainly. Hurry. Just touch the bell. And when Parker comes, I will tell him what you want. I have got to work up this background, so I will join you later on. Don't keep Dorian too long. I have never been in better form for painting than I am today. This is going to be my masterpiece. Lord Henry went out to the garden and found Dorian Gray burying his face in the great cool lilac blossoms, feverishly drinking in their perfume as if it had been wine. He came close to him and put his hand upon his shoulder. You are quite right to do that, he murmured. Nothing can cure the soul but the senses. The lead started and drew back. He was bar-heeded, and the leaves had tossed his bilious skulls and tingled all their gilded threads. There was a look of fear in his eyes, such as people have when they are suddenly awakened. His finely chiseled nostrils quivered, and some hidden nerve shook the scarlet of his lips and left them trembling. Yes, continued Lord Henry, that is one of the great secrets of life at Oku, the soul by means of the senses, and the senses by means of the soul. You are a wonderful creation. You know more than you think you know. Dorian Gray frowned and turned his head away. He could not help liking the tall, graceful young man who was standing by him. His romantic, olive-coloured face and worn expression interested him. There was something in his low, languid voice that was absolutely fascinating. His cool, white, flower-like hands, Eden, had a curious charm. They moved, as he spoke, like music, and seemed to have a language of their own. But he felt afraid of him, and ashamed of being afraid. Why had it been left for a stranger to reveal him to himself? He had known Basil Howard for months, but the friendship between them had never altered him. Suddenly there had come someone across his life who seemed to have disclosed to him life's mystery. And what was there to be afraid of? He was not a schoolboy or a girl. It was absurd to be frightened. Let us go and sit in the shade, said Lord Henry. Parker has brought up the drinks, and if you stay any longer in this scare, you will be quite spoiled, and Basil will never paint you again. You really must not allow yourself to become sunburnt. What can it matter? Cried Dorian Gray. Often, as he sat down on the seat at the end of the garden, it should matter everything to you. Waste it. To be continued.